Hi, you are listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast. I am Ashley.
I'm Jamie.
You look like
really cute just happened outside my apartment window.
What happened?
While we were getting ready. This this lady went by in a wheelchair, walking her dog.
Oh.
And it was super cute. And then a little bit behind her, her husband, also in a wheelchair, came behind, walking another dog.
Oh my god, how cute.
She was real cute. I love my neighborhood. I don't love my landlord, but I love my neighborhood.
Hey, that counts for something.
Been a rough week, man.
Yeah, it's not been an easy week for either of us, but we're here.
I got a new fridge.
Yay!
So we're going to focus on the positive.
Yay!
We're starting off this weekend with a new fridge, and I can maybe eat something green again in my life.
Something fresh.
Yeah. I've been surviving off of buttered noodles and bread. Just bread. With nothing on it, because I can't buy peanut butter anywhere, because that was recalled.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah. Oops. I still can't find it anywhere. I guess I probably could if I went to a normal grocery store, but I don't. That's not the life I live. I live the Aldi life, and so Aldi doesn't have normal peanut butter yet.
Okay. Get together, Aldi.
Yeah. So it's what she do. How are you doing?
I'm good. I got one of my mom's wallets, which is kind of damaged and stuff, but it's really pretty. And,
and she probably uses it all the time, which would explain
it has
why it's
a
damaged.
stain on it, but I don't think she used it past maybe the mid-90s, because the oldest coin I found in there was 86. Everything else was before that. But what I found in the wallet that was really concerning and confusing to me was I found a Busty Betty coin. It's a double-sided coin where it says on one side it's the front of a naked woman, just the torso, and then on the other side it's the back of a naked woman, just the torso. So on some of the coins, the front will say "heads I win," and then the back will say "tails you lose."
And that's it?
Yeah, that's it.
But they weren't minted.
No, they weren't minted. They're not U.S. currency or any sort of currency. I looked up the history of these coins when I found it, trying to figure out where it came from, and they go back so far.
So they're probably token coin type things.
So the history goes back to men going off to war. I read Greek men going off to war back in their time period would use coins that had naughty images on it to pleasure themselves while they were away at war.
It's a masturbatory aid?
It was, and then people in World War I used it to do the same thing.
Your mom had one in her wallet?
But they've also been known to be used as strip club tokens.
Well, that's what I was kind of thinking. But the masturbatory aid...
But they go so far back. There was comments about some being really worn, somebody had rubbed it a lot. Oh. So I have my mom's old Busty Betty coin. I have an old New York subway token in this thing, which is actually really cool. But yeah, I asked around. I posted a photo of it on my Facebook back a couple years ago. I'm hey, anybody who knew my mom understand why she would have this? And her best friend at the time and her cousin who she was closest to were both I have no idea why she has it, but I'm not surprised she does.
That's so funny.
So yeah, I will never know.
I have so much to read about because I've never heard of this, and this is fascinating to me.
It's crazy. The Busty Betty coin, it makes no sense, but it also makes sense.
So now, if you die randomly, someone's gonna be does anyone know why she has this in her wallet?
I mean, there's no explanation.
Oh my god.
So you looked up the Busty Betty coin?
Yes, and I know what I'm looking at is not that, but holy mother of God. This was an unexpectedly bad thing to Google.
Well, oh no, that's not it. Oh no, that was definitely not it.
Wow. The detail on that labia is really something.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of these. Wow. I learned something today. This is before we even start talking about the topic, so you're off to a great start.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah. There's a lot of variations, but the Busty Betty, the torso is the most common, I think.
Yeah, I'm seeing that one come up a lot, but then there's a lot of different ones. The different ones are the ones throwing me off. Look at this one. Hold on.
Whoa. Are they scissoring?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
shit.
it's a dude and a girl.
Not really scissoring.
So it's not technically scissoring.
Shoving each other's crotches in each other's crotches. I mean, that's basically what sex is, so.
Yeah, isn't that what it's always?
Alright. Yeah.
On that note.
Let's,
wow.
Let's travel to South Lockport, New York. South Lockport is technically, like, the suburb of Lockport, but, like, they're kind of the same thing. So I just searched Lockport because South Lockport had nothing.
Makes sense.
How did you get to Lockport this week?
Well, I think what I did is I skateboarded.
Oh.
But I started at the top of Mount Estes.
Okay.
I could get that momentum going, you know?
Yeah, you'll really be flying.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'm looking for as little work as possible.
That's good. I mean, you just stand there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I glue myself to the skateboard so I don't go flying off of it.
Maybe don't glue yourself, maybe put, like, straps on the skateboard so your feet can go through it and you don't have to, like, be attached to it forever. Basically turn it into a snowboard with wheels. Yeah.
Snowboard with wheels.
Lock yourself in. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. What about you? I
shot myself out of a cannon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, that's, I human cannonballed it there. I'm a human baller.
What? You're a baller. Aren't they all, though?
It's fair. Fair assessment. So.
Cool. Well, I'm interested in hearing more about this cannonball situation.
Yeah. Let's dive into it. So we have ourselves a originality story. So we're going to be talking about a invention.
Okay. Is it a cannonball?
It is not a cannonball, but it is cannonball adjacent.
I'm thoroughly perplexed.
And that's how I like you.
Well, aren't you in fucking luck then? I got some fucking news for you, ma'am. I live my life in a state of confusion.
Me too, but I need you confused for this one. So, stay confused. Okay.
I don't think I have a choice.
So, there are photos that I posted for you to look at.
Oh shit, I forgot about that. Is it Cheesecake Day? That's what I
didn't think the cheesecake needed its own day, but okay. Yeah.
Everything has its own day. This is the year of our Lord 2022. Everything has a day. You know what today should be? While I look up the photos. Beyonce Day.
Beyonce?
Beyonce Day. Because her new album dropped, and it is fucking fire.
Alright, we're gonna get into Lockport. So, like I said, technically we pulled South Lockport, New York, but it's a hamlet of the town Lockport, so I'm just going to lump them in together and just cover Lockport, New York.
Okay.
Here's some facts about Lockport, New York, which is located in Niagara County.
Okay.
We got ourselves another county seat in this one. I'm just going to start cataloging county seats. And the name Lockport, much like the Lockport in Illinois, gets its name from being on the 34th and 35th lock of the Erie Canal, which we discussed in the Mommy episode. As with Mommy, the city of Lockport sprung up because of the canals, but today's story is not about canals, so dodged a bullet on that one.
Good. I think we covered that one pretty well.
I can't do two innovation stories about the same canal.
I mean, you could. Theoretically speaking, there would be different challenges in Niagara, just because that's so close to the falls that seems like it would have an effect.
But Niagara Falls does play a part in the story, so we'll get into it.
I might know this.
You might not. We'll find out.
Okay.
If you saw the first photo on there and you didn't recognize it, then you might not know the story. Or you might not know the total story, but you might know part of the story.
I wouldn't ever know the whole story, but I might know the headline.
Okay. So today I'm going to tell you about the life and story of William Leonard Hunt, also known as Guillermo Antonio Farini, or the Great Farini. We got ourselves a circus story, baby.
I'm in. I'm all in, man.
So, for a while, I am going to refer to him as Hunt until he changes his name officially to Farini, and then I'm going to refer to him as Farini, so there will be a switch.
So, Hunt and Farini, though, same dude.
Same dude. Okay, so Hunt was the second-born child to Thomas William Hunt and Hannah Stopper. on June 10th, 1938, and he was born in Lockport, New York. His parents were strict disciplinarians, but Hunt claims their punishment did little to affect him. Same, buddy. Same.
I never got punished.
I stopped showing any sadness or being upset about being punished, and they just stopped trying to punish me.
Mine wasn't because I was like a good kid. I was a very bad kid. I just was a free-range child, as we've spoken about very openly.
You were definitely free-range.
This podcast. Yeah, I didn't get punished because they didn't give a shit.
My parents gave a shit, but after a while I stopped showing that their punishment had any effect on me, so they just stopped doing it.
Yeah, you probably weren't too bad of a kid, though.
I'm a redhead who has ADHD. I was a very hard-to-control child. I didn't act out in any specific way. I was just didn't listen to them when they told me no.
Yeah, that's not the kind of kids that were getting in trouble at my school, is all I'm saying.
No, I wasn't that level of trouble. I was just a rambunctious child who didn't hear the word no.
Which is fair.
To be fair, my brother was definitely a bait baby. He was much easier than I was.
I've never heard that phrase before, bait baby.
Yeah, it's the first baby who you have, and it's like an angel, and you think having a child is really easy, and then you have a second child, and that child is like a hellion.
A monster.
So, my brother was a bait baby, and I was the hellion.
So funny. I've never... That's a accurate, but never heard before.
It's kind of wild, phrase. Right? There's always that one child who comes out, and it's angelic, and so easy to deal with, and then you're like, man, having a kid is easy. Then you have a second kid, and that kid's freaking out all the time, and I'm surprised. If children leashes had been a thing in the 80s, my parents definitely would have put me on a leash. Yeah.
Look what I can do.
Anytime my mom took me shopping, she would have to hold on to me tightly because I would wriggle out of her grasp and go chase things down.
Yeah. I was just reading this comment thread where someone made a comment about, well, when I was a mom in the 90s, we didn't leave our kids in hot cars, acting like she was superior. I'm like, no, you just left your kids in the car with the window open because nobody closed their fucking windows or locked their cars in the 90s. But if you think that kids weren't left in the car in the 90s, you're out of your goddamn mind.
You know how many times my parents left me and my brother in the car when they went to run an errand?
Oh, yeah. That's what the comment was, is my mom would openly say, I'm not bringing you monsters into the store with me.
Yeah.
And also, kids weren't strapped into the back seat. The safety standards were so different when we were kids.
What safety standards?
That if the kids were left out there, they could just get out. Because the car wasn't locked and they weren't strapped into a car seat.
Basically.
They just open the door and leave.
Exactly. It's kind of funny how that works out, but yeah. So
not relevant, but interesting nonetheless.
It was kind of relevant. So, quite the opposite. He was known to enjoy breaking the rules. One example of his rebellious behavior was that one of his favorite things to do was to strip off all of his clothes and go swimming, but his mother did not approve of it and forbade him from swimming. She went as far as to sew up his collar and sleeves so that he couldn't easily remove them to swim. It did not stop him. He would either just swim in his clothing and dry off in the sun after, or just rip off his clothing and get an older girl to sew it back on after.
Wait a minute, where was he swimming? In the lake?
In a lake or in the water somewhere. Alright, so in 1943, the Hunt family moved from Lockport to Port Hope, Ontario, and then to Bowmanville, Ontario. While living in Bowmanville, a circus came to town, and of course Hunt snuck off to the circus. That was the moment that started his infatuation with the entertainment industry.
Well, and back then, when was this again?
That was 1843.
Yeah, the circus was a big fucking deal, man, at that time in history.
Yeah.
Also very dangerous.
Yeah. So, he started to develop his acrobatic skills in secret and soon was quite proficient. It was not long after that he got the idea to start his own circus. As a child, starting his own circus sounds kind of adorable.
Yeah, I immediately picture... Do you ever seen the movie Coraline?
Yeah.
That's immediately what I pictured, the mouse circus.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of what it is.
Adorable. Adorable.
So, he had various circus acts complete with music. By the end, he had found that he had made $6, which would be equivalent to $233 today.
Holy shit!
Yeah, little entrepreneur.
That's better than my little... I would put a table out at the street when I was a little kid.
Yeah, a little lemonade stand or, like, drink stand.
No, I would sell friendship bracelets that I made.
Oh, that's so cute.
I didn't make that much money.
That's so cute.
My friendship bracelet side hustle was not that lucrative.
I guess nobody wanted friends.
No, they had friends. They just got them from their friends. I had to sell them to try to make friends because I didn't have any.
Still so cute. But, so even though he made some nice money out of it, the circus would end with catastrophe. Just as the circus was coming to a close, a bunch of angry parents stormed the tent, including Hunt's father. He claimed that Hunt had disgraced the family and began to whip him.
In front of people?
Yep.
No, that's not okay.
As I mentioned above, Hunt was not to be deterred by punishment. Instead, his father's reaction just furthered his desire to entertain.
Wow.
As he grew older, Hunt's father became more and more disappointed with his son. He had not followed the traditional path that he had wanted him to. When he told his parents he was committed to getting into the entertainment industry, they disowned him. So, goodbye to the Hunt parents. They are not mentioned again. Yeah.
Good. Fuck them.
Yeah.
We accept our children, whoever they are, in these parts.
Well, apparently they did not in the 1840s.
Unless they're serial killers, in which, that's a good time to stop.
Yeah, that's a good line to draw in the sand. Just go, I support whatever you want to do, but if what you want to do is killing people, I don't support that.
Yeah, I support anything grown adults want to do with other consenting grown adults. That's it.
When I was jokingly going to run for president when I turned 35, I was like, I'm going to run for president as a joke. And I was like, my platform is going to be do whatever you want as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
Good platform.
So in October of 1859, he carried out his first high wire performance above the Ganaraska River in Port Hope during the Durham County Agricultural Fair. He performed under the name Signor Farini in honor of Luigi Carlo Farini, who was an Italian physician, statesman, and historian. Luigi! It was a major success, which is when he began to issue tightrope challenges to the top tightrope walker, Charles Blondin, something he continually did, and I never found evidence that Blondin ever accepted any of these tightrope challenges. But he did it multiple times throughout his life.
That's hysterical.
And I don't think there was ever a time where Charles Blondin was like, sure, I'll take you up on that, kid.
That's hysterical. That sounds like something a politician would do.
Yeah. I challenge you to a tightrope competition.
Yeah. Well, not the tightrope part, but the part where they keep asking the same person to do some kind of challenge with them and then that other person flat out ignores.
It's just so freaking funny. So...
It sounds like something Trump would do to Pence.
Oh, yeah.
And Pence would be like, no.
I don't have any interest in this, and Mother would not allow it.
Mother? Too real.
I mean, yeah. After his debut, he began to travel around under the Farini name, so from here on out, I will be referring to him as Farini. He performed at several fairs throughout Ontario before joining Dan Rice's floating circus, where he performed several events on the Mississippi River as both tightrope artist and strongman.
Do you know where on the Mississippi River?
I did not find out where on the Mississippi. It's a long river, so there's lots of places to cross it on tightrope. It
is, and it gets wide pretty quickly. Like, any place south of Minnesota would pretty much be a good location. I'm almost wondering if it wasn't St. Louis, though, because St. Louis was kind of like a hub in that time. This city was much more of a popular place back then rather than a flyover city.
I never found exactly where on the Mississippi he did it, but I'm sure St. Louis was one of them.
Just curious.
August 15th, 1860, Farini did his most famous tightrope exhibition over Niagara Falls, and there's a photo of that, so if you want to look at that.
I feel like that's where I've heard of him, is the Niagara Falls. Yeah. I've seen this photo before. I didn't know the guy's name. But there is... So I've been to Niagara Falls quite a few times, actually, because I went to college not far away from Lockport, New York. And so I remember there's like a little museum that we went to in the winter. So the people, like, there's not as big a crowds in the winter, but there's still a lot to do in Niagara Falls in the winter. And there's a Behind the Falls museum where you can walk behind the frozen falls. It's very cool. And then there's like a little museum, and I think I remember seeing this at that little museum.
So, yeah, he did the tightrope exhibition over Niagara Falls. Wanting to one-up Blondin, who was the first to tightrope walk across the falls, Farini took it up a notch by crossing multiple times, sometimes with a man on his back or sack over his entire body, sometimes doing tricks such as somersaults or hanging from it by his feet.
I mean, that sounds stupid as hell to me.
Yeah.
But that is fucking brave as fuck. Because the falls will kill you. It's not even the fall.
Yeah, and it's 1860, so people are really starving for some sort of entertainment. So I'm guessing this drew a lot of crowds from the area being like, hey, this guy's going to do this.
Well, and at the time, Niagara Falls was another huge hub. People would go there. I mean, there's a reason why it's kind of known for being a honeymoon spot, because people from New York City would go there for their honeymoon. It was a doable amount of distance at that time. And so, yeah, there were probably a shit ton of people there to watch that, which, you know, I couldn't. I could never. That would scare the crap out of me to watch someone do that, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would have so much anxiety over that, yeah.
Yeah, no, my IBS could never.
Oh my god.
It's true. I could never.
I just did the breathy laugh.
I know. It's funny.
Can't laugh like a normal human, apparently.
It's okay. It's okay. People know when you go that it's not a pterodactyl, it's you laughing.
Okay.
If I ever want to elicit a laugh from you, I know that all I have to do is go. That's powerful. That's powerful knowledge that I hope to not abuse too much.
All right. It was during his time at Niagara Falls, Blondin had walked a tightrope over the falls for then Prince of Wales and future King Edward VII, Queen Elizabeth II's great-grandfather.
Interesting.
But the prince had declined to come see Farini do the same, which seems to have pushed the competition on, at least from Farini's standpoint.
Because he had a goal.
He wanted the prince to come watch him tightrope, and the prince is like, nah, I've already done that, I'm good.
I'm not interested, homie. Yeah. I'd rather play Fortnite.
I can totally see that prince being like, yeah, I want to play Fortnite.
Can you imagine what Fortnite in 1840 would be?
He's just making his servants dance for him. I don't know what Fortnite's even about.
Dance? I was thinking more of like a gladiator type situation where they just like drop... Excuse
Rude.
me! Wow. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh,
yeah.
Dropping gladiators into a ring and then making them fight until the death. That's what then. Fortnite was in 1860 or whenever the fuck.
I don't even know what Fortnite is other than it's a video game. I don't know what it's about.
You get dropped randomly in a world and you have to fight your way to like the center. I might be mixing this up with PUBG now that I'm saying it out loud. PUBG. You get dropped into a world. You have to fight others to get to the center of the world, and then whoever's left standing is the winner. And you acquire, like, clothing and armor and weapons as you go. So, there is this one creator, this one streamer that I really like to follow, who does something every once in a while called Sasquatching, which is essentially never acquiring any clothing or weapons or armor and seeing how long they can last. And just running around naked. There's one video where they made it to, like, the last 3 people. And then it's like, well, those people are gonna kill you, but they were protecting him. And, like, when they got down to the low number of people, there were 2 people that protected him. And then those 2 people were the last ones standing, so they killed him, of course, because...
he's dead weight, yeah.
That's the only way that game is ever going to end, is if you kill the guy who doesn't have a weapon, because it's not like he can kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fucking funny. So Farini continued to travel the United States, performing through the winter of 1860, but when the Civil War began, crowds just weren't what they used to be. He did end up enlisting in the Union as a member of the Engineers Regiment, although he would later claim that he had been a spy during the war. There's a theme with Farini of self-imposed grandeur.
Yeah, he sounds manic a little.
He's all over the place. He's everywhere. He's a little crazy.
Yeah, like a manic person.
Yeah. He does have some manic energy, definitely. He designed rope bridges that could easily be assembled. He also designed pontoon shoes that would allow a person to walk on water, something he claimed to have demonstrated for Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, interesting.
His military career did not last long, and while there is no information as to why, I think we can take a guess as to why.
Yeah, because he was a bit of a loose cannon.
Yeah, he was a wild card. He married in 1861 to Mary Osborne, and in 1862, he and his wife traveled to Havana, Cuba, to perform at the Plaza Torres Bull Ring. During the tightrope performance, he carried his wife on his shoulders, and as they were nearing the end, she lost her balance. He tried to grab hold of her skirt, but was unable to hold on. She fell 60 feet to the ground, into the crowd. She did initially survive the fall, but did succumb to her injuries and died a few days later.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, man. That sounds fucking painful.
It's a horrible way to die. After that, he toured South Africa for a few years before returning to the United States in 1864, where he unsuccessfully tried to walk across the American Falls on stilts. He got stuck and lost his balance and had to be rescued. He did try this again at the Chaudry Falls, and this time he was successful.
I'm not familiar with those ones.
Yeah, I think they're in Canada. By 1866, he was touring Europe, and while in London, he adopted a son named Sam Wasgate. Or sometimes known as El Nino Farini. I should mention that no one seems to know where he adopted Sam from. He could have been unhoused, or he could have been in an orphanage, but there's no record of where Sam came from.
Or he was kidnapped.
Exactly. They performed as a acrobatic act together under Signor Farini and son, the Flying Wonders. Their act was extremely popular, and he quickly became a legend as one of the most celebrated acrobats and tightrope artists.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. In 1869, Farini ended his acrobatic and tightrope career as he feared the injury would end it for him.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he remained in the entertainment industry and served as a trainer and manager for other acts. In the early 1870s, Sam was replaced with his adopted daughter, Lulu. Lulu was in fact Sam with makeup and long hair while dressed as a woman. He wasn't really replaced, he was just transitioned.
How did they make this photo happen then?
Which photo? His woman and Sam?
Yeah.
So, I found so many sources that said different things, that he actually did have a daughter named Lulu and that Sam ended up marrying her. That could have just been a random woman. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
He married her?
That Sam married Lulu? Yeah. But Sam is not his son, it's an adopted son. So it's not like it's like a blood relative. It's still gross and creepy, but it's not like incest.
Oh, yeah. I was forgetting that Sam was adopted for a second there, and I was blindsided with horror.
Yeah, Sam was a taken child.
Got it. I knew that. I just spaced out thinking it was grosser than it is, but still gross.
Yeah. So, at times, Sam dressed as Lulu.
Got it.
And Lulu was incredibly popular and became one of...
Lulu's a great name.
Lulu is a great name. So Lulu went on to become one of the most celebrated female acrobats of all time, and the English Woman's Domestic Magazine in 1871 had this quote about Lulu. The Royal Amphitheatre, Holborn, may confidently lay claim to the possession of the eighth wonder of the world in the person of fearless and graceful Lulu, who is indeed the very empress of gymnastics, accomplishing the most surprising feats with an ease and dexterity that can only be described as marvelous. The attraction of her extraordinary performance is heightened by her youthful and prepossessing appearance. So, she's beautiful and talented.
Get it, girl.
Yeah.
Just like Beyonce.
Yeah. Lulu was a Beyonce of her time.
I'm into it.
So, unfortunately, it was after an accident in 1878 that exposed Lulu to, in fact, be Sam. He cut his hair, went back to performing as Sam, although he performed in women's acrobatic garb. So there's some lines being blurred before people were okay with lines being blurred.
Right.
Despite Sam adopting the name Lulu for a short time and then reverting back to Sam, however, he is still referred to as Lulu later in life, so kind of The sources were very confusing on this point because there were times where it referred to Sam as Lulu, sometimes they referred to Lulu as a separate person, and then there was a reference to a daughter named Lulu that Sam married, but I never found any actual evidence that this daughter existed other than that one photo.
So Lulu might be Sam is a transgendered woman.
Exactly. So
got it.
I'm just assuming for the case of the story that Lulu is still in fact Sam.
Makes sense to me that would be not clear in the resources. At the time, that was probably not something that people even knew how to talk about.
Exactly.
Because it was so taboo.
It can only happen in the circus.
Which is ridiculous.
So, Farini is credited for the 1876 invention of the apparatus used for the Human Cannonball Act, originally used in Lulu's act called Lulu's Leap in 1873, but it was in the 1877 London performance by a 14-year-old Zazel that is officially credited as the first human cannonball. While it isn't his only invention, it is what he's most known for. He created the human cannon in the Human Cannonball.
From which the ball cannoned?
Yes, from which the human ball came through. And the interesting part is that it was an apparatus that was in the ground, so it just looked like somebody was flying out of the ground into wherever they were going.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it wasn't like a freestanding cannon, it was like a below ground thing they shot out of.
So it was stationary to that one location.
Basically, yes. But it was still really cool.
Interesting. That's interesting for a circus.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, they could have put floorboards down and just had the cannon under the floorboards, but I don't know how it worked other than it was described as being below ground and then having the human shoot out of what looked like just the ground. Zazel's a really cool name.
I saw that. I love the name Zazel.
In 1871, Farini married a British woman named Alice Carpenter. They had 2 children, and in 1878 they separated, and it led to a very public divorce in 1880. So, we're about to talk about Crow, and there's a reason why I dislike circuses, and most of it has to do with the mistreatment and exploitation of other humans and animals that they partake in. In 1880, he adopted a Laotian girl he claimed to have found in Siam named Crow Farini, and he exhibited her as the missing link along with other humans such as Captain George Consensus, who was a heavily tattooed man. Both were part of the entertainment exhibit Farini organized at the Royal Aquarium in London, and I've expressed enough how much I've always hated that and the rampant animal abuse that has historically taken place in circuses.
Yeah, and it looks like in the photo that Crow has a hypertrichotomas or something to make her have hair on her body in places that humans generally don't have. This is common in the circus. If you ever are interested in a really interesting case, there was a woman who was in a similar situation named Julio Pastrana, she had hypertrichotomas. She also had, I forget what it's called, but thickening of the lips and nose. It was just a genetic feature that she had. And she was kept against her will as part of the circus missing link exhibit. And this happened all the fucking time.
Oh yeah. The human exploitation that circuses did was insane and terrible. And it's a big reason why I don't like the concept of circuses. Poor Crow, yeah. She was just an exhibit to him.
Yeah, probably treated like shit.
Yeah, probably. I'm not entirely sure that Sam was treated all that nicely either. And I don't know that Farini ever cared about any of these people.
No. It sounds to me like Farini had some delusions of grandeur.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That we've seen in recent history in our country that often lead to the mistreatment, I guess, for lack of a better word. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but the mistreatment of other people.
It's exploitation, yeah.
Exploitation. That's the word I was looking for.
So, yeah, it's not good, and I'm about to bring up somebody I really, really dislike. Get through that real fast, but I get angry when I hear their name. For a time, Farini even teamed up with the monster/entertainer P.T. Barnum.
Oh God, okay.
Who, yes, I have very strong negative feelings towards. And if you ever want to listen to a episode about him, check out the Dollop. They did a really good, I think, 2-part episode on P.T. Barnum and all the terrible freaking things that he did. And
right. And the circus is better now than it was then, but that doesn't mean that it's good now.
Oh, yeah. No, it still exploits animals. It's still abusive towards animals.
It is.
There's no human acts like that. Like, they don't do the freak show anymore. But they still are exploitive towards their acts and
right.
animals that are forced to participate in those shows.
Right. Well, and there's no animal that's meant to move the way circuses travel. That alone, even if every other aspect was good, which it isn't, but even if every other aspect was good moving an elephant from town to town is not good. It's not a good thing.
It's sad. So, if you ever want to listen to an episode about P.T. Barnum, so that you hate him too, listen to the Dollop. After leaving Barnum, Farini traveled to the Kalahari Desert, where he crossed the desert on foot and was supposedly the first white man to do so.
That sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, more bragging and grandeur that he doesn't actually deserve. So there are some, after the last photo I posted, there's a link, and there's some photos that are from that trip that he took that are actually really cool. On a side note, during this trip to the Kalahari Desert, Lulu/Sam photographed the trip, and the images include the Kalahari Desert, the native people who lived there, the diamond mines in Kimberley, and the Orange River. Many of these photos were taken from difficult vantage points and further demonstrates Lulu's physical strength and artistic skill. There's, like I said, a link to it, and these were photos that were in a book Farini published in 1886 called Through the Kalahari Desert, and they were put on a Flickr feed so that people can look at them, and I will post that link with the show notes.
Yeah. This is very cool. There's something about seeing a photo from this time frame of a giraffe that's just like a little bit mind-blowing for me for some reason. I don't really know why. But I've never seen a historical photo of a giraffe in my life.
Yeah, giraffes are kind of alien-esque in a way, so I can see how, like, it's kind of a weird animal. Like, how do you explain a giraffe to somebody who has no idea what a giraffe is?
Can you imagine being the first white man to ever see a giraffe?
What is that? It's so tall.
What is that?
It's with the little things on its head. So, Farini had also claimed to have found the lost city of Kalahari during this trip, but it could never be verified. I just find it funny that when people make grand claims and they can't be backed up, this guy definitely made a lot of grand claims that were like, okay, well, show me the proof.
Yeah, this guy sounds like a D-bag.
I mean, he kind of does, but yeah, it was kind of fun to research him at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. So, in 1886, Farini returned with many botanical and human samples from Kalahari. It really freaks me out.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Yeah. How much of the human did you sample? And did you bring back the entire human or just like a chunk of their flesh? I don't know what a sample of a human would be.
And if you brought back the entire human, that's not better.
No, that's not human sampling. That's human kidnapping.
Oh, that's trafficking. That's what we know now as trafficking.
Yeah, that's bad. Bad. That same year, he married again, this time to a German concert pianist, Anna Müller. Between 1886 and 1890, he worked as a promoter until he retired in 1890 in London. He began to focus on flower horticulture. He especially enjoyed growing and tending to begonias. He continued to invent.
What?
Yeah, he liked begonias.
This is a very...
Oh, I'm not even done.
Weird transition in life.
There's a little bit more left, and we're almost done with the story, but this is a wild one.
This guy's weird.
Yeah, he is.
Like, weird in a bad way. I like weird in a good way, people. This guy's not that.
I mean, he was involved in the circus when the circus was not a good thing.
This guy's weird in a bad way.
Yes, exactly. So...
Which has always not been a good thing. It was a less good thing then.
Yes, exactly. So it was way less good than it is now, and it's still not good.
Except, I will say, the one good thing about the circus, there's one. I don't know if you ever went to a circus as a kid. Maybe that wasn't part of your childhood. It was a big part of mine. I went to the circus every single year as a kid because that was like the only fucking entertainment where I grew up. And because I was poor, I got free tickets. So the one good thing about the circus, they had like a little gift shop area.
Oh.
And they had these, I wish I could find one now, these roses that would light up.
Oh, okay.
And they were like on like a wand. And they were so cool. And I always wanted one, and they were always too expensive for my family. And then one year I got one, and I was like, yes! And I don't know, whatever. It was probably trash, because it was, circus shit. Not meant to last. They want you to buy a new one every year. But it was so cool.
So, yeah, he enjoyed tending to his begonias.
Okay.
He continued to invent and had a patent for both the modern parachute and a folding theater seats, which is kind of cool. He did co-invent, alongside Frederick Knapp, a huge roller boat that they claimed could cross from Canada to Europe in 2 days. This one was not a successful invention. From what I read, the boat pretty much sunk as soon as it left the harbor.
Did you call it a rower boat or a roller boat?
Roller. Like roller skate.
I don't get it.
A roller boat. Yeah, I don't either. I imagine like a steamrollers that they use in like construction, like a roller, but like a boat.
But that it floated when it got in the water?
So the Farinis moved to Germany in 1909, where he worked as a translator and wrote a 30-volume history of World War I that was mainly from the German perspective. Again, World War I, not World War II. And he and his family moved to North America in 1920, moving from New York to Ontario. During this time, he took up painting and sculpting, and on January 17th, 1929, he died of influenza in Port Hope, Ontario, and thus concludes the story of the great Farini, inventor of the Cannonball, meant for shooting people out.
I mean, he sounds like an interesting guy. There's a couple things that are a little bit unforgivable, in my opinion. Not a little bit, a lot of it.
A lot of it, yeah.
But putting that aside, because of the times, like, that was sadly normalized then, whether or not it's okay, like, I don't have a say over that. It happened, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no changing human history, but we can learn from it.
Yeah. Hopefully. It's interesting to me. I mean, just coming from like a standpoint of the circus was such a big part of people's entertainment lives at that point that any kind of innovation within it is kind of cool. Especially innovation that's meant to spotlight people who are choosing to do the thing that they're doing, like a human cannonball. That is good. That's where he's a good person. Yeah. Because he invented something that was part of a huge entertainment movement that didn't include exploitation.
And his other inventions as well, the folding theater seat, that's something that we still use. And a parachute, like a modern parachute, that's kind of awesome.
Exactly.
The roller boat we can live without.
It's so funny. When you think of parachutes, do you think of people jumping out of planes or kids in a gymnasium playing with a parachute?
I think of people jumping out of planes.
Because I think of the ladder.
I used to love doing that. That was like my favorite thing.
I fully think of little kids in a gymnasium playing with...
I used to love doing that. That was like my favorite thing.
Me too! That was the best day of gym!
Yeah, when they're like, you walk in and you see the big thing on the ground, you're like, it's parachute day! Oh my god.
That was number 1 best day ever. Number 2 best day ever was when you would walk into gym and you'd see the garbage cans filled with all the hockey sticks.
Floor hockey in school is always a fun day.
Yeah.
So that was the invention of the human cannonball apparatus.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a good story. I can't say I'm at all surprised that it's connected to Niagara Falls, because there's such a history of Niagara Falls and the circus. Like there's a lot of different things that happened in Niagara Falls that are circus related because of the falls.
If there was one thing I really wish I could have figured, well, 2 things. I really wish I could have figured out the whole Lulu Sam thing. Who was this other woman? Like, was there really an adopted daughter named Lulu?
Yeah.
I don't know. The Lulu Sam connection was a little confusing, but I really, really would have loved to have found out what Blondin's response to all these challenges.
Right.
Like, he's like reading a letter and he's like, I don't know who the fuck this is, and just throws it away. Would have loved to know what Blondin's response to that was, but
he's just sitting, he's like, who is this dude? That's so funny.
Otherwise, I thought the story was kind of fun to research and...
Yeah. Well, circus members and magicians and things like that, they were like the celebrities of the time.
They were. I mean, he's the great Farini.
Exactly. Maybe Farini wasn't among the biggest celebrity. I don't really know that. Yeah. But, everybody knows who Houdini is. And that's because he was, like, the biggest performer of his time. Because that's the entertainment that people had access to.
And people know who P.T. Barnum is, unfortunately. But he was a big name in the circus community.
Yeah.
You ready to find out where we're going next?
Yeah, let's find out where we're going to go.
Yeah, let's spin that wheel.
All right. Well, this is a first.
Ooh.
We are staying in New York.
Oh, no, we are?
Yeah, we're going to Brewerton.
Well, at least we don't have a long commute.
Very short commute.
Let's find out what we're talking about in Brewerton. Oh, shit. Everything's flying everywhere. All right, we got ourselves a love story.
Okay.
I love that.
Okay. I don't love that.
All right. I will see you there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will see you in Brewerton. We will see what's going on.
Well, see you next week.
Happy wandering.
Bye.
Bye. Fuckers.
Thank you for listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast with your hosts, Ashley and Jamie. You can follow us on social media at Wandering Chronicles Pod on TikTok, Wandering Chronicles Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and WND Chronicle Pod on Twitter. Or you can email us at wanderingchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. New episodes drop once a week. If you're liking what you're listening to, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple. If you don't like what you're listening to, that's fine. Please tell everyone you know about our podcast. Your bank teller, that person at work that you're pretty sure steals your lunch out of the fridge every day, but you can't prove it, so you don't say anything. The hot dad that walks his dog by your house every day. Your cashier at the grocery store. Your children's friends' parents. I bet they listen to podcasts. Okay, thanks. Bye!
What are you doing? I don't know what's happening. I've lost control of my circus.
Yeah, your circus is out of control.
Even Nigel's looking around like, what the hell's happening?